Yeah.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Gridiron Expert. We are here at Camp Randall Stadium in Madison, Wisconsin, bringing you our 2019 Wisconsin football predictions. And last year, it was a pretty disappointing year for Wisconsin. They started off the season at number 4 in the country, but had one of the biggest upsets of the season here at Camp Randall Stadium, falling to BYU 24-21. They still started off the season 4-1, but once they got into the bulk of Big Ten play, they could never win back-to-back games. They just traded wins and losses for the rest of the season. They finished 8-5 in a year that many expected them to maybe win the Big Ten and finally break through to the college football playoff. They're hoping to turn things around this year in 2019, but they're going to have a tough time doing it. They returned 6 returning starters on offense and 6 on defense, and of course we all know on offense they will be led by their star running back, Jonathan Taylor, who rushed for over 2,100 yards last year and 16 touchdowns, but did not get as much attention as he did in 2017 because Wisconsin was not in the hunt for the college football playoff. This year, expect another breakout year from Taylor in just his junior season, and it will, of course, be a major Heisman Trophy candidate. At quarterback, though, that's where the questions remain. Will it be Graham Mertz, the star freshman, or will it be Jack Coan, who played in about 5 games last year when Alex Hornibrook was down with an injury? I personally believe it will be Coan, and although he did not look extremely impressive during the time that he played for Hornibrook, I think he will come in 2019 and do pretty decent for the Badgers. He has a great supporting cast around him, a great crew of wide receivers, and a Heisman candidate at running back. Defensively, though, Wisconsin allowed 22.6 points per game in 2018, which isn't bad until you realize that was their worst mark since 2014. Paul Chryst defense are usually extremely well, usually one of the best in the Big Ten, maybe even in the entire nation. Expect the defensive side of the ball to get much more improved in 2019 and maybe get back below 20 points per game allowed on average. They open up the season here at South Florida, and this is a major trap game for Wisconsin, a game that many people think they could maybe lose to the Bulls. South Florida will have one of the most experienced teams in all of the American Athletic Conference, and of course will be coached by Charlie Strong, the former Texas head coach, former Louisville head coach, and now down in Florida. This is a dangerous Bulls team, one that could very well win the American Athletic over the likes of Memphis, Houston, UCF, but I think Wisconsin comes on the road, and really I think Jonathan Taylor is going to be the key in this one. South Florida last year started off 6 or 7-0, but then dropped their final 5 games because they were playing against quality opponents. Wisconsin is a quality opponent, and they will come on the road and beat the Bulls, although it could be close for a little while. They beat Central Michigan, their first game here at Camp Randall Stadium, and get that big-time bye week only in week 3 before facing off against Michigan, a huge showdown to kick off Big Ten play. Michigan, a team that I have going 11-1, one that could very well make the college football playoff, maybe even win the Big Ten in 2019. And as we all know, this is the year that Michigan has to win the Big Ten because Ohio State not necessarily is down, but with all the changes that they're going through, the opportunity is prime and ripe for Michigan to win it. And that's why I think Michigan, despite Wisconsin coming off this bye week, does come on the road and defeats the Badgers. Wisconsin dealing with a brand new quarterback situation, really wouldn't have been tested that much in their first 2 games. Although this will be a very big game here in Madison, I think Michigan comes on the road. That defense takes care of the quarterback situation, bottles up Jonathan Taylor, forcing whoever it is, Mertz or Coan, to win the game through the air, and Michigan wins this game, Wisconsin falling at home to the Wolverines. They then remain at home to face off against Northwestern, another team that brings in a big-time quarterback in Hunter Johnson, the transfer from Clemson. Now, the problem is Northwestern won the West last year. The year that Wisconsin was supposed to win it, Northwestern surprised everybody going 8-1 in Big Ten play. But Northwestern loses a bunch of key players, including Clayton Thorson at quarterback, and I know they bring in a solid transfer in Johnson. I know they bring back Isaiah Bowser at running back, and I know the defense under Pat Fitzgerald usually does a pretty decent job. But I don't think they have enough to come on the road here. Wisconsin's a very difficult place to play, one of the most difficult in the entire Big Ten. Jonathan Taylor exploits some weaknesses in the Northwestern defense, and Wisconsin gets a huge win over the Wildcats to improve to 3-1, and of course 4-1 with an easy win over Kent State. And then the rest of the season is Big Ten play, and they're going to have to make sure they can win back-to-back games, unlike they were able to do in 2018. They stay at home against Michigan State, and if you look at this schedule for Wisconsin, you can see the front half of the schedule is very heavy on home games for Wisconsin. The final stretch for them, they have, 3 road games? Well, they only have 1 here in the first little stretch, and that game's only against South Florida. So Wisconsin has to be able to win here in Madison, and I think they do just that against the Spartans. I love this Michigan State defense. You could very well see this game being low scoring here at Camp Randall Stadium. But in the end, Even though I expect bigger play out of Brian Lewerke and the Spartans at quarterback, I do think Wisconsin owns a slight edge there. They bottled up Jonathan Taylor last time they played. I don't think they're going to be able to do that this time. And even if they do, I think Wisconsin's quarterbacks step up just a little bit. And they beat the Spartans in a fantastic start, if our markers will work here, to the season. Much better than they had last year, at least. They go on the road to face off against Illinois, a team that has not been a contender in the Big Ten in a very long time. But Lovie Smith is doing a phenomenal job in the transfer portal, turning this team around, trying to make them relevant. They get Brandon Peters, a transfer quarterback from Michigan. They got some big defensive end transfers, some big wide receiver transfers. Illinois could very well win 4-5 and maybe contend for a bowl game this year. Wisconsin, or any team for that matter, cannot afford to overlook any game that is in Champaign. But in the end, I think they do have enough to beat the Fighting Illini on the road. Too much experience on the Wisconsin side. Too many transfers for Illinois, even though I do expect big things out of them down the road. Then the big one, on the road against Ohio State. Wisconsin, just a one-loss team, and a quality loss at that, to Michigan, who could very well, as I said, win the Big Ten. At Ohio State, though, they are the biggest threat to Michigan in that Eastern Division. The Buckeyes lose Urban Meyer, they lose Dwayne Haskins, but they just restock, bringing in Ryan Day, promoting from within, and bringing in Justin Fields, the transfer quarterback from Georgia. This game being on the road, I don't have a lot of faith in Wisconsin winning this one. Ohio State's defense returns 9 starters. That's certainly going to be the strength for the Buckeyes in 2019. I think they take care of business. And I think, as many Wisconsin fans can eventually say, I think it all comes down this season to how well the quarterbacks step up in 2019. Whether Mertz or Coan lives up to the hype, whether they can get this team going. Because every team knows they have to stop Jonathan Taylor. But if they have a potent passing attack, Wisconsin will be extremely dangerous this year. Nonetheless, though, Ohio State wins at home. Wisconsin takes their second loss of the season. They get their last bye week, a very good one at that, right when November starts, so they have their final stretch of 4 games here, going into a big rivalry game against Iowa. And Iowa is a team that has a lot of talent in 2019, but whether or not they can produce because of their schedule remains to be seen. I love Nathan Stanley at quarterback, and I love this Kirk Ferentz defense going into 2019. But whether or not they can win the big games, whether or not they can win 8, 9, maybe 10 games, I don't know if that's going to be possible this year for the Hawkeyes. Wisconsin coming off a week of rest, having the Hawkeyes at home, rivalry game, you can throw records out the window, but Wisconsin steps it up for this one, especially rested up and trying to avenge a loss to Ohio State. They beat the Hawkeyes here for another quality Big Ten win. And I apologize if you were unable to see our marks. We go on the road to Nebraska now, and Nebraska, the team that is actually favored to win the West this season, favored to win the West in 2019. Scott Frost went 4-8 in his first year in Lincoln, but returns Adrian Martinez at quarterback and has a defense that should greatly improve in 2019. There's not many times that you hear of teams that can go 4-8 and then be favored to win maybe 10 games in the next season and maybe win their division. It's pretty much unheard of, but Nebraska could be that team. This year on the road at Lincoln, I like the Cornhuskers this year. I'm buying into the hype. I think they beat Wisconsin from behind a potent passing attack from Adrian Martinez. Wisconsin takes their 3rd loss of the year on the road against Nebraska. Their final 2 games against Purdue and Minnesota, one of these was a thriller last year, one of these was not. Purdue last year was a 47-44, 3-overtime victory for the Badgers last year against the Boilermakers. And Purdue returns 9 starters defensively as well, like Ohio State. Purdue's defense is not as elite as Ohio State's, but can still pose a problem for the Badgers. Offensively, though, they only return Elijah Sindelar at quarterback and Rondale Moore at wide receiver, one of the most explosive players in all of college football. I think Wisconsin's defense steps up, shuts down a Purdue offense that still has a lot of talent, still has that explosiveness factor, but not enough to come here. Expect a fairly close game, but Wisconsin gets the win over Purdue for their 8th win of the season. And they close out the year against Minnesota, the battle for the axe, as we all know. Last year, Minnesota came in here with bowl eligibility on the line and beat Wisconsin at home by 22 points. It was unbelievable. It was an unbelievable performance by the Golden Gophers and P.J. Fleck. And Wisconsin, as we said, had a down year last year, just going 8-5 with that win in their bowl game. This year against Minnesota, you know revenge is on their mind. You know they want to beat the Golden Gophers because they had dominated them for so long. But unfortunately, they're going to drop their 2nd straight against the Golden Gophers. Minnesota returns, they're very young, very young. A lot of people have them as their dark horse to win the West. I'm not going that far with it. I think that could be Minnesota next year in 2020. This is still a young team. And if a lot of their production returns from this year, returns in 2020, they will be the team maybe to beat in the West next year. But this year, though, they return Tanner Morgan, they return Tyler Johnson, one of the best wide receivers in the entire Big Ten. I think with this game being at home late in the season, hungry to defend their axe, they're going to beat Wisconsin. And Wisconsin takes their 4th loss of the year and goes 8-4 in 2019. Now, I know for some Wisconsin fans that would be fairly disappointing, but considering what they were supposed to do last year and how they went, now they lose Alex Hornibrook, which for some people is a good thing and for some people it's a bad thing. Trying to bring in a new quarterback in Coan or Mertz, and now bringing back, a couple lost pieces on defense. This is a Wisconsin team that has the talent, but not enough to win the West this year. Not enough over the likes of Iowa or maybe Nebraska or maybe for some people Minnesota. But 8-4 with a chance at 9 wins if they can win their bowl game. A very respectable year and a very job well done by Paul Chryst getting this team back together. And I think Wisconsin, kind of like Minnesota, could very well be the team to beat in the West in 2020, assuming a lot of their production returns. So Wisconsin, 8-4 in 2019, live here from Camp Randall Stadium in Madison, Wisconsin. Thank you guys for watching. Go check us out on Twitter and Instagram at Gridiron Expert, and check out our man at All College Football, All CFB on Twitter and Instagram as well. Some great college football content there. And make sure to go check out our website, thegridironexpert.com. Sign up for our newsletter and sign up for our expert picks. For just $30, you will get every single one of our college football spread picks for 2019, including the postseason. I can promise you that's a deal you do not want to pass up. So make sure you go join up for our team. Sign up today, only at thegridironexpert.com. And guys, as always, thank you for watching. Please continue to like, comment, and subscribe. And we will see you next time on The Gridiron Expert.